Aion 2 is preparing for its official launch in Korea and Taiwan on November 19th, and many MMO players are paying attention to it for good reason. The game promises a large amount of content at release, including extensive PvE systems, structured PvP modes, and a visually impressive world. At the same time, its monetization model has already raised concerns among the community. This video brings everything together in a clear and organized way, helping you understand the full picture before deciding whether Aion is worth your time. Aion 2 will release in Korea and Taiwan first, but players around the world can still access it through the Purple launcher on PC. The PC version is the simplest way for global players to get in, since it doesn't require intensive verification steps. Before the game goes live, players can already create their characters and choose both a faction and a server. While playing Aion 2 on Taiwan does not require the use of VPN, you will 100% want to use one, as the gameplay experience will be terrible for NA and EU players. For the smoothest gameplay, you will want to reduce your ping and latency if you are playing outside Korea and Taiwan. That's why I personally recommend GearUp Booster. GearUp is not just a basic VPN, it's a game-focused network accelerator with routing technology and specialized gaming servers around the world, which are designed specifically to reduce ping, fix your weird routing, and stabilize your connection. Go to the link in the description, press the download button and install it. Once you install it, you will need to create an account. Once you log in, you will get 24-hour membership, which will allow you to test the VPN. They actually have a dedicated Aion 2 support. You pick Aion 2 in the app, choose the region you're playing on, hit one button, and GearUp automatically picks optimal nodes. Trust me when I tell you, you will not have an enjoyable experience playing without a VPN. Use the link in the description and check the ping for yourself. At its heart, Aion 2 is built around PvE content. While the game includes several PvP systems, the developers have clearly designed the game around dungeons, raids, and cooperative progression. More than 200 dungeons will be available at release, each offering different modes and difficulty levels. Some focus on traditional boss fights, while others introduce time challenges, leaderboards, and harder modes inspired by the mythic-style dungeons seen in other MMOs. These dungeons are mechanic heavy, meaning they rely on pattern recognition, proper movement, and teamwork instead of simply stacking power or gear score. Bosses have clear phases, targeted attacks, and punishing mechanics that require players to coordinate and respond correctly. However, one point of concern for players is the 4-person party size used in most dungeons. Because the game follows the classic tank healer DPS roles, a 4-person group means only 2 DPS slots. In most MMOs, DPS are by far the most popular role, so limiting the group size makes it harder for casual players to find parties. Progression within PvE content also involves a degree of randomness. The best gear drops inside dungeons, but each item comes with random substat rolls that can drastically affect its effectiveness. While the system creates long-term goals, it also introduces an element of gambling, since players can spend hours farming only to receive weaker versions of the items they need. Aion 2 uses a tap-target combat system at its foundation, similar to classic MMOs. However, the developers have added a layer of movement-based mechanics, including dodge abilities, iframes, and reaction-based skills that bring a more dynamic feel to the battles. While it is not a full action combat system, the combination of mobility and targeted skills gives fights a smoother rhythm and more modern responsiveness. Players familiar with the games like Throne of Liberty will recognize the general feel. The combat isn't purely fast or flashy, but it is fluid enough to create a satisfying gameplay loop, especially during longer PvE fights where mechanics matter more than raw damage output. Aion 2 launches with 8 classes that cover the traditional tank, healer, and DPS structure. The Templar serves as the main tank, equipped with the defensive tools and strong pulling abilities. Gladiators fill the melee DPS roles with heavy strikes, wide swings, and impactful crowd control. Rangers specialize in long-distance attacks, while sorcerers deal powerful magic damage from afar. Assassins offer fast-paced melee combat with stealth mechanics that are especially effective in PvP, while clerics take on the essential role of healing and sustaining the group. More unique to the Aion series are the Spirit Master, which channels magical energy through summoned orbs, and the Chanter, a melee-focused hybrid class that mixes physical combat with supportive utility. Each class brings its own strengths and weaknesses, and no one currently knows which will end up strongest since the game is launching fresh. Aion 2 continues the original series tradition of strong visual style. The world is vibrant, clean and fluid, the environments that feel both expansive and detailed. Character customization is one of the game's strongest features, offering a wide range of options that allow players to create memorable and unique characters. Movement across the world feels smooth, and the flight system is actually visually appealing and blends naturally into exploration. Bosses, creatures and landscape design all show a high level of polish. The world carries the fantasy tone of the original Aion while upgrading the visual quality to modern standards. While PvE sits at the center of Aion 2, the game still puts significant effort into its PvP systems. Structured PvP includes both solo and team modes. Players can compete in 1v1 duels, enter 4v4 arenas, or participate in 8v8 battlegrounds that include objective-based modes. Open world PvP centers around the Abyss, a dedicated zone where players farm both monsters and PvP-related materials while remaining vulnerable to attacks from other factions. This zone is time limited, giving each player a certain number of hours per week to farm inside it. Because PvP gear is primarily earned in this region, the weekly time limit creates an important loop where players must use their hours wisely. However, many players worry that additional time may eventually be sold through paid options, which would give paying players an advantage in gathering PvP gear. The developers have not confirmed this, but the potential is enough to raise questions about long-term fairness. Aion 2 uses a faction-based server structure. When you choose your faction, you are automatically placed on its matching server. This system creates stronger faction identity, but it also divides the player base more rigidly than some modern MMOs. Because players cannot freely switch factions or cross to the opposite server, coordinating with friends or guilds before launch is essential. This structure ensures that faction battles feel meaningful, but it also limits flexibility for players who want to change their community or join new groups later. And for many players, the biggest question surrounding Aion 2 is not the gameplay but the monetization. While the game is free to play, it includes a subscription model for accessing the auction house. Players must pay per month to use this feature, which is essentially for buying and selling gear. This instantly creates a divide between free and paying players. Because gear in Aion 2 includes random substat rolls, having access to the auction house allows paying players to purchase more unidentified items and roll for better stats more efficiently. This creates a pay-to-win concern, especially for players who care about PvE rankings or high-end PvP performance. Combined with the possibility that additional Abyss time could eventually be monetized, the community sees the game as having strong potential but also significant risk. If monetization becomes too aggressive, it could overshadow the game's strengths and push players away. Overall, Aion 2 has the potential to become a major MMO if its business model stays balanced. If not, even its best features may struggle to shine. For now, players will need to see how the launch progresses and whether the developers choose a player-friendly approach or a financially aggressive one.